Now that my PCT through hike is over prematurely, I wanted to show you what I ended up with since you've already seen what I started with. Check out the other video for that. Hello, welcome back everyone, subscribers, random viewers, welcome to the channel if this is the first time. Go ahead and give my videos a look. If you like what you see, give it a thumbs up, you know what to do. I'm going to go ahead and just run through this. Basically, what I ended my hike with right at Burney Falls, California, a little over halfway through the PCT. I'm going to go over some of the clothing I had, as well as everything in my pack. I thought I'd just go ahead and take it all out and go through it as I take it out. That's the easiest way to do it. And I can get to truly unpacking. So in no particular order, well actually a particular order from the top down, and this is basically what I would do every single night at camp. In terms of breaking down, I'll go through my equipment and my clothing. So starting off, my outdoor research sun cap. I had sent home the backside where it protects your neck because I just wasn't using it. Sent that home actually decently into the desert section because I just wasn't enjoying it and I wasn't using it, and you can see it's pretty darn dirty. So I'll have to give that a good wash here in a bit. And then this is what I was wearing. Believe it or not, this is the cleaner version, or my cleanest piece of clothing I had out on trail. It's my Patagonia shirt. It's wicking away quite well. It's fine, but you can see here where I was wearing my hip belt, and definitely through the burn scar and burnt area of the bear as well as Dixie fires. So I was wearing that. Also I was wearing these shorts. These are Patagonia men's, I think 9-inch hiking or running shorts. But they fit great, and they were quite form-fitting, which is great. It has that inner lining, so has the inner lining for it. Okay, now this is a really great piece of equipment for me, even if it is clothing. This is the Anetic sun hoodie, and I had this the entire way, all the way through the desert, all the way through to actually where I started, or I stopped. As you can see, it got quite dirty. This primarily all came at the very end, in the dust and the ashes of the fire when I took a header right into it. But this really worked out great. It kept me a little too warm in the desert, and I gave some of that feedback to a friend. I'm going to actually give it to the company that this was a great hoodie. It was a little too warm in the desert section, not breathable enough like one of the other hoodies that I like. And but in the Sierra and some of the NorCal, it actually worked out really well, and it was preferable. So I'm a really big fan of the Anetic. I'll probably do a video on this. I prefer it to the outdoor research hoodie that everyone seems to have. I don't like the cut of that, and this has, amongst other features, it has the drawstrings on the hood, so you can really cinch that down. And one of the things I thought was really cool is it has a pocket in the back, so it's on the back side of you, out of the way. Really love this hoodie. It was fantastic. Next up is my Tarp Tent Pro Trail Lithium Pro Trail Lee. It worked out fantastic. The zipper on the last 2 nights failed. Actually, the last night it failed. And I need to get that fixed. It just wouldn't quite zip, and it's an easy fix. There's not much to it. It's pretty straightforward. I contacted the company and they gave me some instructions. It was just happenstance that I cowboy camped my last night on the PCT, and then the very next day I ended up breaking my foot. So I would have had to fix this or found a fix, but I can do that pretty easily. But this was with me the entire time. Oh, and I only cowboy camped twice. Next up, we'll finish up the clothing. Just ex officio underwear, sleep in at night. And then these are my outdoor research sun gloves. Yeah, they're pretty gnarly right now. They're starting to fray. They're starting to definitely come apart, but they survived the entire trip with me. A bunch of toilet paper. I'm not a backcountry bidet user, or not yet. We'll see. Bunch of toilet paper I didn't even have to use. My wife sent it to me in a resupply, and somehow I just didn't really ever get around to using it. I was able to get to towns, or the amount that I had previously in another pocket that you'll see was enough to suffice. Next, my AirPad. I switched out my AirPad because I had a leak in my Neo Air X Lite. I did find that when I got home halfway through. I did fix that, but I switched to my Nemo insulated tensor, and it's the regular wide version, and worked out great. Fantastic. No complaints. I love that AirPad. It's probably actually my favorite because it's not as noisy. It has a close enough R value to the X Lite to make a comparable switch out, and it's just a bit beefier, frankly. Okay, so next, this is just the OpSack with some food, some extra food that I had. So typically what I would do was, if I didn't have enough room in my pockets, which was often for the entire day worth of food, I would go ahead and load up the pocket as much as I could, and then keep dinner, whatever, on the top of my pack, just below my tent. So that would be like the second or third thing or whatever that I would get out and get ready so I could have dinner in the evening. So that's all it is just some food in the OpSack left over. And then what I carried from around Tahoe going up north was my Ursack Almighty. I'm a big fan of this. It's both bear and rodent resistant, or I don't know if I would say proof. A lot of people don't like these things, or they disagree with them. I don't have a problem with them. I think if you use them correctly, they have a very definite purpose in place. And this is what I was going to take up with me through the rest of the hike. It carries about 5, maybe if you can really cram it in there, 6 days, but I don't know if you could get 6 per se. Full days of food that you'd really want on a through hike, but definitely 5 I was able to get. But this is what I had, and it worked out pretty well. I slept with my food very close to me. Didn't have to hang this but once. Never had a problem. In fact, a lot of the times, in fact, exclusively in the desert, I slept with my food in the tent, period, end of story. Never had a problem with rodents, any insects, any animals of any kind. As I got up into bear territory, yes, I used the canister for the required areas. And then I also, even then when I had the canister, I slept with the food very close to my tent. In fact, right outside my tent, oftentimes, no issues. Definitely not what they recommend, being 100 feet away from your tent, but nobody was really doing it. And when you have that many people around you, usually you're gonna be fine anyway. And then I just laid this outside my tent and still had no issues. So not that you should do that per se. I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying that was my experience. That's what I did. This is a buff that I picked up from some trail angels right outside of Kennedy Meadows North. And they were giving away, it was right before Independence Day, and I used this twofold. One, to cover up my head and keep me a little bit warmer at night when I got chillier, and then 2, also to put it over my eyes, which helped with the moonlight sometimes and just made it easier for me to get to sleep. So definitely something that came in handy. And let's see, going through some of the other stuff. Here are my sleep socks with the 2 bands, the elastic bands for my quilt already kind of wrapped into them. That's kind of how I did it, was that I would just stuff these inside. Makes it easier to find and not get lost. And then these are my socks. So I have a couple of things here. One, I have these my Mora compression sleeves or compression socks for your calves, and I wouldn't hike without them. These were fantastic. I definitely recommend this. Got it off Amazon, not expensive at all. Then I had these Injinji toe socks with the Injinji liners. These do not remove all opportunity for you to get blisters. I did get blisters with these socks. My feet sweat. It did help. It did cut down, but it did not eliminate. So just know that you will get blisters. You could get blisters even with those. Even doing the liner and sock method. And then just some gaiters. Showing you kind of my pack. This is a Waymark through 40. It's a frameless pack. I switched it out because my arc haul, the arc wasn't working very well. It was drifting to the left. So it went from an arc haul to a haul, and the side pockets, they both broke. The elastic strap broke. I had to sew them together. I was not a fan of that. I'd heard several people on trail saying, oh yeah, we've heard bad things about Z-Packs, or mine broke too. So Z-Packs was not getting a lot of love from the trail community in terms of their packs. I don't know if I overloaded mine or not, but I switched out to this and had no problems. Also, I have the Nyla Fume pack liner, super loud, I know. So there's a channel, Lost Again with Jim. I recommend that channel, great channel. Thanks for the tips and the ideas on putting this between your knees when you sleep to help with back pain and hip pain. This really did help. It didn't eliminate my hip pain entirely, but it really did help. So I picked this up and I did get some relief. So thank you. I appreciate it, Jim. This, another pair of Injinji liners. This is my actual pillow. So this is just a buff that I use as a sheet. And then this is the Big Sky Dream Sleeper, and it has these little indentations so you can have a nice crest in your by your shoulder, and it really helps sort of cradle your head and make it easier to sleep or more comfortable. And then almost the last thing, but not quite. This is just a Sea to Summit silk cotton liner, and that was not really needed for the last week or so. It's really just to keep you away from, or a barrier between you and your quilt, not to get so funky and stinky. But I didn't really need it. It got so warm that even at night, it wasn't really needed at all. So I just wouldn't even use it. But in the Sierras, it definitely came in helpful, and it got down to 22. So I think my temperature range was from 110 or a little bit higher to 22 degrees. That was the range of the entire trip. So you can definitely understand that helped. Helps reduce drafts, but doesn't eliminate drafts with a quilt. And then last, but certainly not least, is my Enlightened Equipment Enigma 30 degree 950 fill power quilt. This was fantastic from, oh gosh, I would say I switched it out when I got to Tahoe. So from Tahoe up, definitely did not regret having made the switch. It was so warm, hot really, that this was in some cases too much. But really for the most part, it was just right. It'd get down to like 53, 50 degrees or so at night. And it really was just the right amount. So I'm glad I made that switch. So that was pretty much what was in my pack, but on the sides and on the side of the pack, let me go ahead and show you how I had it set up. So on my left-hand side is where I keep my electronics and my balm and everything. So I kept my sunscreen, lens cloth for my sunglasses, my body glide, and yes, I went with the large stick. It just didn't make sense. I mean, I switched out to the large stick, easy to apply. It was worth the wait to me. So I would have these two in the morning. It's the body glide, but also the body glide cycle, and that really helped around, your derriere. Really eliminated the issue I had with chafing. So these two together every single morning, and if I was sweating really hard, which did happen, I'd have to reapply towards the end of the day, but these were fantastic. Bought another one of these. Let's see, and then last in here, the face stick, so you don't get cancer, skin cancer on your face. And then this was my Bivy Stick. About this, I did several videos, and you've probably seen them, or you may have seen them. It works great for its purpose. It does lose reception, I felt, a little bit too often, but as I was speaking with people who had Garmin InReaches, they said that theirs was the same experience. So this performs on par with the Garmin. Maybe Zoleo, I don't know. I didn't really speak to many people that had a Zoleo. I saw a couple, but the people I did speak to about this were Garmin users, and my frustrations were their frustrations. My quibbles were their quibbles. This is not something that you can just text back and forth like you would on your cell phone. It is definitely something more of a, hey, I'm here, I'm checking in, maybe a couple messages, but it can take a while, and it does. In my opinion, it would lose satellite reception, and you have to wait for it to get back into another satellite to come over and send your message. But like I said, it was on par with the Garmin InReach and the Mini, so that's just how these things perform. Know that when you go out into the backcountry, that it's not going to work like a cell phone. Not going to happen. So that was the left pocket. My right pocket, I would keep my food. Now this is going to be very minimal, obviously, because I'm at home, but I would just keep my meal replacement drinks, load this up as much as I could, and then my spork, which I didn't use as much as I thought I was going to, because I switched largely over to drinking my calories. And then my liquid IV. I love these things. This would be like a treat for me at camp when I made it at the end of the day. Throw one of these in, rehydrate. Loved it. In terms of water, I have on my pack on the left-hand side would be my clean water bottle. So this was always clean. It was never dirty water, ever. And I would switch this out every few towns or whatever, just to make sure I wouldn't have any risk of mold or getting sick that way. But this was always clean water on my left. And then it was dirty water on the right. And I had the Knock, this collapsible, aftermarket buy, but bought it from Lightsmith. But it's a collapsible cup or bottle, and then the Be-Free water filter. I'm going to do a review on this because the flow rate is fantastic when it starts, but after that the flow rate will get a bit worse, or a little bit worse, and it'll never get back to the way it was. So just enjoy it. You could wash the heck out of it. I have washed these. I've tried, I've done all the cleaning and everything, and it's only rated for 1,000 liters. But just know that once this gets dirty, that flow rate will degrade, and it'll never go back to the way it was the first time. Kind of a bummer, but hey, still was faster than the Sawyer Squeeze. And then this is the end of it. It's on the back of my pack. So oftentimes I was cold soaking, so oftentimes I would keep this on the back. One downside to the color scheme I have on here is in the sun, this gets super hot and it just bakes anything that's in there. So if you have some food in there, just know it's going to get super hot and mushy. But this was fine. It was great. I did in the Sierras, I laid it down on granite too many times and it did crack. And this Leukotape works like a champ. And if anybody knows anything about Leukotape or any experience, you know Leukotape is the gold standard. You can't beat it. So yeah. This is the Hydra Pack 2 liter. It's threaded 42 millimeter, so it works with the Be Free, and fantastic, loved it. My poop kit, toilet paper, trowel that I ended up bending. I gotta get a new one. And then something that survived the entire trip with me was this black trash bag. It did have some cuts, so I took some Leukotape and repaired it, but this made it the entire way, all the way from the southern terminus. In fact, it still has something in it. I need to fix that, or throw it away. And then just a couple more things, and I'm done. Oh yes. So, in no particular order, oh, a patch that fell off. Leukotape, and yes, I went with a full roll because I was using so much. It came in handy, came in super handy. I know a lot of people have those little strip bands that they do, they'll cut them off. No, I needed the full roll. I didn't want to screw around and mess with it. Loved it. Worth the wait. There's a Repel 30% DEET. I was going to use this. I was preparing for Oregon, but obviously didn't use it. But the mosquitoes were so bad in places that I probably could have used this in the Sierras. A sponge that I would use to clean myself off at night. A towel to dry myself off after that, and that worked out fantastic. You'd think it wouldn't be so good. It's all dirty water, but this actually would take that off and you'd be clean and get into your quilt. And then a couple other things. Oh, my electronics bag. Let me save that for last. Here is a hiker to trail, hiker to town sign that I never got to use because there weren't that many instances I needed a hitch. I got kind of lucky, and frankly, nobody was going to pick me up. They weren't going to do it. I've had many conversations about this, even with thru hikers, female thru hikers, and they said, yeah, I mean, no offense, but I'm not picking you up, even with that sign. So, okay. My Nightcore NU, I think 25 is the brand, or is the model number, or something like that. Anyway, this headlamp was fantastic. Super long battery, lasts forever, wonderful. And then the last things in my pack were my tent stakes. I was kept them in a very particular location in my bug net, which I definitely had to use several times, many times actually. And that was well before ever getting to Oregon. Didn't get to Oregon. And then also my little thermo drop thermometer. So that's pretty much it. I am going to go over my electronics bag because it's not just my electronics and ditties, it's my first aid kit as well. So I keep all of it in here. And one thing that I would say is have yourself a routine. I kept things in a very particular place in my pack. I kept things in a very particular place in my tent. They always went in the same location. So I would know if something was missing because it wasn't there. And I would highly encourage everyone, when you start doing something like this, a thru hike, establish your routine, have a place for everything, and know that you always put it in that location. So that way, if it's not there, you know that you misplaced it or it's gone or something, you need to look around. So with that, New Skin, the spray, fantastic for blisters. I really enjoyed this and got a lot of use out of it. Well, you already saw it probably from the electronics episode, but my wall charger, my 4-to-1 USB, so that way I could charge all my electronics at the same time. My electronics didn't really change at all. earplugs, very, very necessary. And I've been looking for like the best earplugs ever, and I still haven't been able to replace them. Just a USB-C to USB-A conversion, or what do you want to call it, that you plug into the wall charger and plug your cord into that. My Anker 13,000 milliamp hour battery. This worked out great. I ended up using more battery, phone battery, than I thought I would, and that's what I'm shooting on right now is my iPhone. So you're watching that piece of equipment that I've used, but this came in really good. This held plenty of juice. Got me through the Sierras, and that's what I really was worried about. But it worked out extremely well, and I highly recommend this. My only big gripe about this is that it just doesn't charge fast. It doesn't. I think it's got like 10 watt input maximum. That's all it is. It's not going to get you there quickly. So it takes like 6 hours to fully charge. And that's true. It just takes forever to charge. It held a lot of juice, and I was able to get all of what I needed. So I didn't really fret about that. And then this was just my first aid kit. It has some bandages, has some nail clippers, some tweezers, it has some tenacious tape, it has a couple of needles that I picked up, some KT tape, acid tracing, floss, you name it. That's just sort of my go-to, and this was always in my tent when I set up. And this was usually like the first thing I would put in my tent, so I would put that bathtub floor onto the ground. There's a little bit of CBD oil that I didn't actually use. I thought I might, but I didn't end up using it. And then some thicker, or not thicker, but longer KT tape strips that I brought just in case I would have to use them. I did use some in the desert. Had I continued on, I was definitely going to use some of these to cover up some of those blisters. But yeah, my foot broke right after Old Station, or actually after Old Station, closer to Bernie Falls. So didn't get a chance to use those. And then this is something I used a lot more than I thought I was going to. Put that down. So this is the actual Garmin watch charger. For some reason, my watch seemed to hold a charge better when I used this with my battery bank than the generic thing. So I don't know. It is what it is. But that's it, guys. That's all my stuff. I need to clean some of this out. I need to do some of that. So there you go. So if you have any questions or any comments about the gear that I used and finished with, feel free to leave a comment below. So thanks so much. See you in the next episode, if there's a next episode. Thanks, Andrew.